high.
I'm sorry, it still gets me every time. Like what you put together, Mikey. Holy cow!
I know, right? Uh, Listen, a lot of the work and love went into it, and it makes me feel oh so good. I appreciate it. But hello, all you Biconics wrestling nerds out there, and welcome to another live stream here on the Biconics Wrestling Network. I guess we can call it now because we're not just on YouTube anymore. This is streaming to Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, all over the social medias I can get my little hands on. But it is the OG crew. It is the 1.0 version of Biconics, the group that started it all tonight. First and foremost, before I get into all the housekeeping and what we're here, JVL, this is magical. This is like old times. I'm so happy to, go back to the OG crew.
This is us after a D&D game, complaining about our DM, and then going like, "Oh, did you watch this yesterday? Oh yeah, I watched. You watch wrestling? What the hell?"
So, fun fact for everybody who doesn't know, the Biconics would not be here for what it is today without JVL because he is the proprietor.
Or you.
Well, let me put it this way. JVL was the one that came up with the name and kind of, started this whole thing. And it just started as us exchanging messages about how much we like wrestling. And then we kind of did our own thing for a bit, stopped because life got busy. I reached out to you about a year ago and be like, hey, do I have your blessing to bring it back? And you're like, only if I could be a part of it. I'm like, heck yes. And now fast forward to where we are today. It's no longer just two of us. It is now 9 of us total.
And you're now my boss. It's great. I love it.
We're friends, but yes, I am your boss, but that's neither here nor there.
And I showed up on time for this meeting. I came prepared with notes. I'm good here. I'm ready to go for NJPW Wrestle Kingdom 18.
Oh, I am so happy. So normally we don't cover New Japan extensively like we do all the other shows, but one thing that we all have agreed upon the last couple of weeks is that Wrestle Kingdom is definitely New Japan's pay-per-view that we would want to make sure we all watched and we review because technically it's the big start and it kind of sets up what the field for New Japan is going to look like in the coming year. So essentially that is what we are here to do tonight. We are here to review Wrestle Kingdom 18, which minus some time differences took place this past Wednesday/Thursday. If you were crazy enough to stay up late and watch it live, which I wasn't, I watched it over the weekend. And I probably could have since I was on break, but I had other things.
I was avoiding time with the in-laws. Don't tell my partner who's watching right now. It's probably not a good idea. Anyhow.
But yes, the OG crew is here to review and to cover New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 18. Let's get all the goodies on screen now. So let me just move us here.
Right. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm small. I feel a little bit intimidated by the men to my right. It's tough. But I'll go through it.
I mean, you'll be fine. But yes, I'm super excited to review Wrestle Kingdom, and this poster is so pretty. It's so pretty. I love it. This is mostly everybody on this poster did appear in the show. We're going to talk about some of the highlights and some of the not so highlights, but that's neither here nor there.
Are we not going to mention all of the graphics? This entire show basically look like 2002 SmackDown versus Raw, like the same box art, same time setup. I mean, it screams nostalgia for the early 2000s.
Oh, absolutely. So without further ado, let's just jump straight in. So we're going to start off with the kickoff to Wrestle Kingdom, which is the normal. Every year, it's the New Japan Rambo, where it is basically a battle royale, and the final four move on to the following day at New Year's Dash to do the KOPW 2024 Right to Challenge. So final four will face off, and then go from there.
Yeah, it's unlike any other battle royal because they stop when 4 people are left, which makes that last 3 minutes 30 seconds usually a pretty intense thing as people are trying to get there. You can also be eliminated by pinfall, submission, as well as going over the top rope. So a lot of ways to get kicked out of this.
Absolutely. So we're not necessarily unlike the Royal Rumble and WWE, we're not going to cover everybody that came in here, but we are going to highlight some fun ones. So obviously for me, one of the fun ones was definitely just because of the sheer stupidity of it all. I love Yo just like running full sprint down to the ring.
Well, and then Sho and Yo renewing their rivalry after having been a tag team for so long. Sho trying to beat up Yo with a wrench as Yo has lost his shoes and slipping and sliding on the giant ramp down to the thing.
It was so good. I was just like, this is silly, but I love the silliness in New Japan. And of course, mostly this is where you're mostly going to see all your comedic spots. Is the Rambo is the part of the pay-per-view where it's just this is where you're going to see most of your comedy, which we got. There was a lot of ball chops, there was some biting involved,
an iron fist.
Yeah, iron fist. Like again, Yo lost his shoe.
And then basically got crotched on the top rope by Sho and stayed there for a good 5 minutes, like just not moving. The balance that took also was amazing. And this is where the memes are coming from as well of, Alex Coughlin stuck in a table because the War Dogs and, House of Torture got into a lot of fighting going on during the early part of this match. And Gabe Kidd, I wrote down here, Gabe Kidd, you basically want everyone to do your work for you. So you keep calling, Alex, get over here, do this. Basically telling everyone else on your team to do your work for you, which I know is your what you're going for there. Like you're the cocky heel that doesn't get his hands dirty, but you're just holding Great O'Khan going, someone else take care of him. You can throw him over the ropes. You're right there.
I know. Well, we'll talk about Mr. Coughlin later during the triple threat because we're going to talk about where the origin of this meme came from, which was glorious. I loved it so much. But after everything is all said and done, the final four and moving on to New Year's Dash ends up being the Great O'Khan, Taiji Ishimori, Toru Yano, and Yo, of all people, too.
All the people who survived.
It was so funny. Yo looked like he was he looked like a school kid who got lost during during like festival day.
Yeah, no. To set this up, the folks that didn't get to watch it, Yo is known for doing comedic bits and everything else. Ran down to the ring. It looked like he didn't have time to change into his gear, but he's running down this long ramp and somehow forgot to tie his shoes, which go flying off of him as he's running down. So he's in sock feet, slipping on this LED board screen. He rolls into the ring, gets the crap kicked out of him. His former partner Sho shows up with House of Torture. He runs out to meet him and then slips and falls. Hilarity ensues and gets the crap kicked out of him for the majority of this match and yet survives.
Yes. And I'm going to be honest, I thought New Japan was going to pull the thing that we don't like. And I was like, House of Torture was in there. I was like, I swear if
just evil. In Japan, there is a wrestler called Evil.
House of Torture is, you're going to find out really quickly. House of Torture is not the favorite faction amongst me and JVL here. I think they get pushed a lot of the times where they don't need to be pushed. And it makes no sense, but it is what it is. It's neither here nor there. But, again...
Stephen Larson said it best. They are a faction that can't figure out what their gimmicks are. A few of them know, but the rest of them are just like, well, we have nothing for you, and you can't figure out what you do. So we're just going to stick you in this faction, and you'll wear a hood and be like, spoopy. And that's about it. And it doesn't work. We'll talk about that later for one of the other members who came out for another match. Who, like Ren Narita, doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Like he has no idea what his gimmick is.
I don't know either. Of course, one of my other highlights, I will always light it. Shane Hayes not taking himself seriously at all, just twerking at the top of the ramp.
Oh my gosh, the run by TDMK, TMDK was epic until all of them just got themselves thrown out. It was just ridiculous.
I know. I was like, dang it, you guys. Like, I like TMDK. Like, they be killing the game.
Not really after this thing tonight. I mean, come on.
We'll talk about that. And, we'll wait until we get to a certain match, but I wonder if this was decided before, Mr. Tanahashi became Presidente Tanahashi, but we'll talk about
President
that.
Ace. President Ace.
Honestly, we'll get into that when we get to that match. But from here, then we begin New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 18 proper with the opening match, so to speak. The first.
Before we get there, I am so mad I didn't write down, other than Rocky Romero, who was on call for the English call.
Woo, let's go.
I know that the guy with the deeper voice, the bigger guy that was on there, I know he's new. He's new to the business in general and doing this type of stuff. He sounded like he has called main event wrestling stuff across the world forever. And I did not miss Kevin Kelly having him there. And I love Kevin Kelly.
Absolutely. I was just like, the back and forth between him and Rocky Romero the whole night. I was like, you know what? Let's stick Rocky on these. I love it so much. And thank you, Rocky, for translating certain things for us, because I'm like, I want to hear what this is.
Right, we don't get subtitles on this.
No, we do not.
Walker Stewart,
let's go.
Chris Charlton, Walker Stewart, you are amazing. Can we get you in a Forbidden Door setup to be next to Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman and have all of you call the match? You can be their Excalibur. It'd be great.
Yes, please. I love that. All right. So now we go into match 1, which I appreciate that New Japan is one of the only companies, at least to my knowledge, that tells you the order in which you're getting all these matches.
Well,
which
for
makes
Wrestle Kingdom, yes. For New Year's Dash, they didn't know until the day of.
No, that's definitely fair. Wrestle Kingdom is really the only one that you're going to know, but that's okay. So match number 1 for Wrestle Kingdom 18. We begin with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match between, well, not no more, but the champions, Bullet Club War Dogs, being represented by Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney, taking on Francesco Akira and TJP of Catch 2-2, representing the United Empire.
That's not TJP wasn't in this match. Francesco Akira was there, but we got an Aswang, a random Aswang out of nowhere, coming in to basically back Akira. And also love that commentary actually dove into the stuff behind this cryptid, like why it is. But yeah, TJP wasn't there that night.
Yes, because it was not TJP, but who shall emerged in this match, but the Asawang himself. Listen, it is no secret that TJP loves representing his Filipino culture. And this goes to what I'm going to be saying the whole entire night. New Japan is one of the only promotions that I see where they go all out representing the different cultures. And it's not going to be the only time we see this tonight, but I also love the fact that I was like, wait a minute, why is he coming out of a coffin? Oh yeah. Commentary was nice enough to fill us in that these two teams were involved in a coffin match, and they locked TJP in the coffin, and his anger and his resentment just festered, which is in line with the folklore of the Asawang, if you look it up. And then when that coffin opened up, when Francesco opened it up, that skeleton hand popped up, and just the whole entire garb, I was just like, yes.
Great mask, great presentation. It really played up to the thing about it, and you got that kind of like Fiend feel from this, but not as like undefeatable. Like they did take the Aswang out for a bit there, but the biting and the bloodletting and the mist a couple times was it was a beautifully put together, very stylized, old school, like Great Muta match that you would have had, except with more tied to TJP's Filipino heritage and those things from then. And I just put in one of the chats the Wikipedia article on the Aswang in case you're curious. So,
yes, we appreciate. We always try to do our research. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, hold on, let me do my fact check real quick so I can take some notes so I sound like I know what I'm talking about during the live stream.
Go for it.
It was so good. I loved it. It was great. But you know what?
What?
I really enjoyed this match. This didn't go long. This was like 9-10 minutes or so. And you know what? Catch 2-2 regained the titles. And like, there's going to be a trend that we're going to see throughout the whole entire night. If you were wearing white, you were most likely going to lose your match tonight.
100%. Or like any white piping, everything. It was just very much... Yeah, it was signaling, and like you picked up on that. I don't know whether that's because of President Ace or whether this was a theme that was talked about beforehand, or just randomly everyone decided that the losers were going to do that. But that's hysterical.
It is. This was such a fun opener, And, I'm going to be honest, this is my first time really seeing Drilla in this match because I'm like, I know he's a newer addition, kind of. And I was like, he was okay. And I was just like, sir, we cannot say the F word every other time we speak. But man,
it's the UK. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's very, very fair. I have to say, I like the evolution that Clark Connors has gone through from 2 years ago when we saw him at Forbidden Door to where he is now. It's just like, yes, this actually works really, really well. And I like seeing him kind of be this cocky douchebag of a heel.
As opposed to a knockoff Crocodile Dundee / the sheep herder / all that stuff.
I mean, that is very, very fair.
But yes, Catch 22 wins the titles and takes them into New Year's Dash the next night in a giant schmoz brawl, which we can talk about later on, and we may not. New Year's Dash was great too. If you get a chance, go on to NJPW World and watch both of these events. They're still up there right now.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll wait until we get to Will's match to kind of talk about what happened at New Year's Dash, because that involves everybody in those two factions. Everybody. Speaking of everybody, we don't know exactly what happened, prior to this, but our second match of the evening is for the New Japan World Television Championship. Zack Sabre Jr., who has pretty much held this title since last year's Wrestle Kingdom and has not lost any title defense up to this point, takes on his challenger in the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, yes, I am getting there. I'm going to correct myself.
You need to give him his proper title.
Fine, President Tanahashi. President Ace.
Ace. President Ace, who has no knees left. My God, like I'm happy this happened, and it was better than it had any measure to be. I thought Tanahashi had retired after the middle of last year because he had been talking about his back was gone, his knees were dust. He can't move like he used to. He can't even do the high fly flow like we didn't do it here. And seeing that, and then Zack Sabre Jr. If this was real life, Zack Sabre Jr. should have turned him into knots and basically worked the knees for 2 minutes and been fine. But somehow the president books himself to win the NJPW World Television Championship.
I mean, oh boy. So I'm wondering if this was before or after, he became President Tanahashi, which is, because there are some people who are not too happy about it because they're like, oh, he's the president. Of course, he's going to have himself win. I'm like, I'm wondering if this is a result because of the previous administration, but
it may have been. But the other part of it is we have to say this isn't just a kayfabe type of thing. Like, he actually is the president of NJPW. He is the Triple H of NJPW right now.
Honestly, I love Hiroshi Tanahashi, and honestly, if I think New Japan, he's been holding it down for the last 25 years, I think they said on commentary, he's been here from the jump.
And he's wrestled everybody, so and he's wrestled Zack Sabre Jr. before, but this was definitely, with watching Zack run through his paces and do the thing where if it doesn't work, the hold doesn't work in less than 3 minutes, then 2 minutes, he's got to move on to something else. 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there. And then the win comes from basically a roll back and forth pinning combination where Tanahashi sat back just enough on the final one to basically move Zack's head out of the way and keep him down for 3, which was awesome. That's a quick win on that.
It was. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm surprised, but I'm not upset about this. I'm kind of here for this. So President Tanahashi is your the New Japan World Television Champion. What I'm hoping to see this year for Zack Sabre Jr. in 2024, I hope we can push him up to the bigger titles now, especially since we have a certain Englishman who is going to be officially done in New Japan by February.
Who could that be?
I wonder. Stay tuned, because we're going to talk about him in a later bit.
Is that the bird-themed guy, right? He's like a bird assassin thing?
Maybe. But
Tana wins, forgets that he just isn't supposed to leave, goes back in to then speak on the microphone and talk about how grateful he is for everything here, all that type of stuff. And then I wrote this down. He's trying to leave the ring and needs a lot of help. Are we sure he should still be wrestling?
between him and Ibushi right now, I was just like, I need y'all to either stay retired or do like it's okay. You guys have put in enough work. You guys can chill. Specifically for you, Tanahashi. Like, we know that you are amazing, and I honestly think you're gonna lead New Japan in a really good direction. Here's hoping, but yeah, let's. It's okay. You don't have to wrestle.
The next generation's here. You can let it happen. It's okay.
It's okay. But honestly, I think the World Television Championship is perfect for Tanahashi because those matches don't go past more than like 20 minutes.
15. It's a 15-minute time limit.
Oh, that's right, huh? 15. So yeah, it's perfect for him. So he could do it every once in a while. And here's hoping that Zach gets pushed into the bigger title pictures with wherever he goes to, because I think Zach has paid his dues as a foreign gaijin for New Japan, and I think he's ready to do all sorts of things. I was so happy to see Zach all over Western audiences, but he is just perfect here in New Japan.
Yeah, the downside is because of who won the global title. I don't think they can put that Zach against him and make him fully face. It's just not going to work. So they're going to have to figure something else out.
I know it makes me sad, but we'll figure it out as the 2024 goes on. But just like we saw Zack Sabre Jr. all over the Western world, we also saw one of the, well, for those of us that watched a little indie promotion called Impact Wrestling, we got to see, yeah, I know, right? We got to see one of the two men that are in this next match have his journey, excursion in Impact Wrestling, and was part of one of my favorite tag teams that was gone too soon in Joya. But in a special singles match, we had Yota Tsuji returning from his excursion, Yuya Uemura. I love Yuya. I am a big fan of Yuya. I'm so happy.
Talk about new blood in New Japan. These two are going to be there. I foresee them main eventing the Tokyo Dome in like 5 years.
They were out for blood. This match. I was like, yes.
They totally were. Oh, this was amazing. And like the commentary added to this so much because of like they've faced each other in tag team action against each other, but they have such bad hatred of it. And Tsuji has never lost to Uemura. He's always beaten him up until now. Spoiler alert, Uemura pulled it out. But these two, like, this is a rivalry it's like Kevin Steen and, El Generico. This is going to be them. They're going to come at each other and then leave and come back, and they're going to be forever tied in New Japan for the rest of the time they're there. I fully see it.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's such a refreshing thing to see Yuya have such a character transformation coming back to New Japan. Because
getting one?
I mean, he was the level... I'm going to be honest. I think pairing him up with Joe Hendry and Impact actually helped him a lot, figure out not only because his wrestling style has always been there, but I love the fact that he got to be comedic with, Joe Hendry and Impact, and then to take all the other lessons he learned too. Because I would love to be a fly on the wall because Joe Hendry is also a pro of the business too. If you know anything about Mr. Hendry.
Which I do because I watched him in WCPW and all that good stuff and seeing his involvement. Yuya definitely came off as more flamboyant in this match.
Mm-hmm.
Yota Tsuji was very much like drilling at him and trying to take him down and keep him grounded. And Yuya just wanted to fly and showcase that he had learned much more than Yota could ever teach him. It was wonderful.
This match was good. And in my opinion, I think I will see these two continue to fight it out as the years go on. And I would love for them to main event the Tokyo Dome one day. But in my opinion, for this roundabout, I am glad that Yuya picked up the victory here. And definitely, I think was the right call for this one after them going back and forth and Yuya coming up short against Yota Tsuji for a while. And finally to get a win over here in the continuation of their feud at this like milestone is so good. I want to see more of them, please.
I'm calling it in 5 years. Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Kingdom, what is that? 5 years is going to be 23.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be Yota Tsuji versus Yuya Uemura versus Tanahashi for the IGPW Heavyweight Championship. Emperor Ace at that point. And Tanahashi will win, but still. That's what it's going to end up being. He'll be out in a wheelchair. He'll wrestle. He'll be like Roddy Strong, except he'll be actually hurt, and he'll just still do it. Anyhow.
Yeah, I don't know. By that point, it might be torture watching Tanahashi still trying to wrestle. But speaking of
torture.
Well, speaking of House of Torture, we got some of their members in this next special tag team match. we have House of Torture being represented by Evil and Ren Narita taking on Mr. Shota Umino and representing Noah Kaito Kiyomiya. I'm gonna be honest, this was not my favorite match, only because my disdain for House of Torture soured me a bit.
The entrances were bizarre. I mean, I loved Shota coming out on basically he was doing the Undertaker spot from late 90s when he was the American Badass, to come out to this and showcase that. House of Torture coming out and Evil carrying a pair of scissors that he could barely cut through the Noah t-shirt with to disrespect Kiyomiya. And then Ren Narita, who I've described before, he's still trying to find who he is as a wrestler and like his character. And basically what I got from this was, I wear a spooky robe with a hood and Evil does all the work.
So
also, when did the match start? The amount of DQ schmozzing that happened in this with House of Torture swarming the ring.
This was not a House of Torture match. Like, I don't understand it. Like, what was happening?
And of course, we do get a win via a foreign object as well, because of the pull-up bar, which apparently, I know commentary tried to put it over. I'm like, I still didn't get why they had a pull-up bar.
I didn't either. And this is the unfortunate part for me, because, John Moxley speaks highly of Shota Umino, calling him Shooter.
Oh, yeah. Shooter Umino. Well, he was his young boy, right?
Yeah, it's this young boy. And then you have probably while Noah sometimes isn't taken as seriously as, New Japan itself, I would like to say that Kaito Kiyomiya is probably the equivalent to Okada as it is to New Japan, as he's like their big name in Noah. And I will say, though, Kiyomiya versus Okada, like at the beginning of 2023, when they had like their shoot fight because they kind of hated each other, but then they got their respect at the end of it, was beautiful. He can't catch a break. The last couple of matches I've seen him in, like, he's always on the losing side of things.
New Year's Dash again, too. Like, what the hell was going on?
House of Torture does not need to win anything at this point. And I don't know why we had this match.
Rehab Evil because of the kind of like mediocre title run he had going out of the last couple of years. They dropped him down. They have to build him back up because they're paying him tons of money to be a main eventer, and he's not.
I don't understand it.
No one does.
It hurts me. But yeah, House of Torture pick up the victory here.
Basically what we have to say about this is that this, for the majority when this match ran, it was just House of Torture beating the crap out of Shota Umino and Kaito Kiyomiya. And when the match finally began, it was just there was a couple of ref bumps, and a couple of trying to make the ref scared, and it never got started and didn't feel real. And it felt like, why was this on Wrestle Kingdom as this? It was a very American style match in the worst possible way.
Yeah, you know what? That's a perfect example of why I didn't necessarily like this match. I was just like, I don't know how to explain it into words. But yeah, this felt very westernized. And I don't expect that kind of stuff when I'm watching wrestle. Well, I don't expect that from New Japan a lot, but I don't really expect that from Wrestle Kingdom of all things too, because Wrestle Kingdom is very deep in the more Eastern style of wrestling versus the Western. And yeah, this was my least favorite match of the night. I was so this match was whatever.
I tuned out. I was trying to watch really hard and I was listening to commentary and enjoying it, but and that's probably why I didn't understand about the pull-up bar, because maybe it was set up earlier or they finally got into what the backstory was, but this just didn't hold my attention because the baby faces never got started. And, House of Torture was just using the numbers, and I'm like, just end it already. You've already shown it's a beatdown. You don't need more.
And it sucks because I like Shota Umino and Kaito Kiyomiya, and I'm just like, ugh, they can't catch a break, man.
No, they can't.
So after the P-break match, I tried really hard because I want to support Shota and Kaito, but I couldn't get past it. But then, let me tell you, the next match woke me up, and it kept my attention for the rest of the night, because then we move on to a very, very good match for the Never Open Weight Championship. Shingo Takagi defending his title against Tama Tonga. This match ruled.
This surprised a lot of folks. I loved commentary bringing up that, Takagi's got to win tonight because, of course, it's the year of the dragon now. Like, he's got to really take it on because he is the dragon. Tama Tonga looking for some respect to get back from Takagi because he's been kind of in a middling bit here, and there's been rumors about what's going to happen with him. Even the fact that he said he's going to be leaving New Japan somewhat soon. So, you thought you knew what was going to happen in this one. You thought that you knew it was going to probably be a shorter match, even though the 60-minute time limit. And these two worked the hell out of the crowd. They took shots. They were working as if they had 2 or 3 days off after this, which they didn't, and made this title feel almost as big as the full-on heavyweight title.
First and foremost, I will say that Tama Tonga's and the Gorilla Destiny's just theme song in general goes hard. It is one of my favorite entrances in terms of like gaijin wrestlers in New Japan for their entrances. It is so good.
So good. Good.
But man, this match was awesome. I love that Takagi was getting into it. Like, he did his own version of the stun gun just to piss off Tama Tonga, and it was so good to watch.
Well, then didn't Tama Tonga, like, he kicked out of the Bloody Sunday at 1?
Yeah, I was like, that's rude.
You can feel as if, like, and I know that it wasn't really there. They did a really good job of selling that they were just not happy with each other, and like, you almost felt like a real fight was going to break out in the middle of this, scripted fight. It was great. And the Avalanche Styles clash. Oh my God. Woo! How did he kick out of that?
I don't know, man. So here's the funny thing. Normally we complain about people kicking out of big moves and finishers, but in New Japan, like, I'm used to seeing people kick out of all types of finishers. That's why a lot of New Japan wrestlers have like 4 or 5 up their sleeve that they got to use.
Well, and the other part of it is I loved it. The commentary was going to like, Thomas having to dig into like everyone he's ever known, all the Bullet Club leaders. He's grabbing their moves. He's doing this here. He's just digging into a toolbox that no one knew was available. This was amazing. It picked the night back up, and I honestly, it's one of the few on here. I'll say, if you can't watch the whole event, find the English like announcement of this or somewhere and watch this match, especially because Tonga takes the win. He's leaving at the end of the month, like, if not February, and he's got the Never Openweight title. Like, what is going on here? Is he going to NJPW Strong? Is he going to AEW? Is he going to WWE? I mean, he ostensibly says he wants to be closer to his family because he hasn't been around for them, and his dad Haku was always gone. So I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like, yeah, and like you mentioned, so that was the news that broke out during one of the parts of the press conference afterwards, the scrum, if you will. Like, Tama is leaving at the end of January, beginning of February. So maybe Shingo will get it back. Maybe a new person will take the Never Openweight title off of him. But man, what a match, regardless of all the pomp and circumstance afterwards.
Well, we have a lot of former title holders from tonight that could go for that title and have a good run with it. I mean, we can talk about it later about some of the stuff with it, but it was really cool. We went from this to the first kind of celebrity sighting of the night, other than Ace. We had
the Nemeth brothers.
Oh my gosh, the newest tag team straight out of AEW and someplace else. Nick and Ryan Nemeth just taking their seats, and they didn't get involved in the next match. They didn't get involved in a couple matches. I kind of wish they had like gotten snacks or something and were just there eating popcorn or something just to like set up to when they were going to be used. But it was really cool to see, and it was odd to see Nick Nemeth sitting there, like, still looking just as good and looking like he wants to make a run to do some fun stuff.
Right. So we get that spot, we get that sighting, and then we enter. Okay. I'm a big fan of these two teams, and they did not disappoint. But so this next match, this was a winner take all match. You had your IWGP tag team champions in Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi Bishamon taking on the strong tag team champs of the Gorillas of Destiny, in this case, which is being represented by Hikuleo and ELP El Fantasmo.
Oh,
God, this match ruled. I love this. These are two perfect tag teams. for me, Hikuleo kind of was MVP because he had to dig deep and he's not a small guy. He is a tall boy.
No, he's a tall boy, and he went off the top rope.
It was so beautiful to watch, but
he did a Gunther splash.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love this so much, and I can never say anything bad about Bishamon, man. Like Bishamon is holding it down too.
Lose. They barely ever lose, and they picked these titles up at the last Wrestle Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Held them for the full year. To see this happen, and ELP was thanking Hikuleo so much for being there, like, because he's like, I would have never gotten this far without you. It was crazy, and this is where I thought like the Nemeth brothers were going to jump up. Of course, they're the brothers there. It's going to be something with the tag team, but nothing about it. They let this match go on, and the God pull out the win. They've now hold both sets of titles,
which is amazing. And then I'm worried because we haven't heard anything because ELP's contract is also coming up soon as well.
Right.
So I don't know I don't know what's going on, but
I mean, maybe President Ace is just hoping by putting titles on people, they'll stay around for a bit longer.
I hope so. But again, these two teams pulled out all the stops. So you can see why they are champions of the respected titles that they hold. But like you said, Gorillas of Destiny now hold the IWGP and the Strong titles. So reminiscent of when a certain Aussie Open also did the same thing.
Ooh, let's hope they have a better run once they move on from NJPW than the God do.
I hope so. I want good things for God because, yeah, Aussie Open. Well, go check out our other reviews if you want to see that.
Unfortunately.
But man, much respect to Bishamon because they held that title all year since the last Wrestle Kingdom. And who knows what happens? They might go for that. They might fight some other things. They might do some other stuff within, their faction. So, but Bishamon has a special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really excited about this next match, and it didn't disappoint me.
No.
For the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, the two rivals that are destined to fight every single chance they get, El Desperado challenging Hiromu Takahashi for the title.
The entrance gear, the presentation, this is Japanese theater come to life in a wrestling ring, mixed with a very Mexican lucha libre style from El Desperado. And when I was talking about who could go after that never open weight championship, Takahashi could make an interesting run for that damn thing.
I love Hiromu Takahashi's character so much. Outside, his entrance gear is by far one of my favorites. I don't care what nobody says.
Most creative.
It's so creative. And his wrestling short gear too, with all the eye patch work and it's so good. But
he was a giant eye monster. Like he had eyes everywhere on him when he came out.
Every Wrestle Kingdom I see him, he just adds more. I love the entrance gear, but man, talk about the in-ring psychology and storytelling, because these two also kind of are never open weight, championship match. These two have been fighting forever, and they also don't like each other all too much.
They do not. Well, they were in the Fatal 4-Way last year for this title where Takahashi won it. Mm-hmm. And it basically punked out Desperado to get it.
What I loved about this is the best equivalent that I could do is that Takahashi and El Desperado are the two kids that are living on the same street, and they're just Takahashi plays the perfect smug kind of but not too overly smug, and El Desperado's I just want to hit you every time I see your face.
Meanwhile, their parents want them to be friends and keep having them do play dates in the backyard. So they
exactly
eating each other over and over again. This was, if not a technical masterpiece, this was a way to tell this kind of blood feud story that you don't see in a lot of Western companies, because it wasn't just focused on storyline. It wasn't just focused on character. It was focused on move for move, who's going to make the first mistake. And it ended up being Takahashi.
It is, but honestly though, El Desperado had to dig deep because it took two pinchy locos for him to hit on Takahashi in order to keep him down to pick up the win here. And I was like,
Exactly.
I laughed when I heard commentary. I was like, I forgot that was one of his finisher moves. I laughed so hard. I'm like, if anyone knows Spanish, you could translate that to what you will.
We'll leave that down in the comments later for you guys afterwards. But
this match did not disappoint.
No.
It was so good.
It was wonderful. Again, once we hit the Tama Tonga match, this card ran. There was a dip in that little bit there, and then you're just off to the races.
Oh, yeah. And then this was the up and up. So like we said, El Desperado wins. I'm excited to see how his title reign is going to go. You know, after coming up short last year and then finally picking up a win against his eternal rival. And I'm interested to see what's next for Takahashi because he's very enigmatic when it comes to his character.
Openweight champion.
I mean, I'm not going to complain about it. Speaking of things I did not complain about.
Not at all.
For the inaugural IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship, this was a triple threat between Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley, and the leader of Bullet Club War Dogs, David Finlay himself. You know,
Finlay comes out in probably the lowest key entrance out of all of them, over the top, and you've got Jon Moxley paying homage to the Red Hood, not the Joker version, but the ex-Robin version. Except he's also getting hate online for not going far enough because do we all think Jon Moxley is actually a cosplayer, right? He actually understands the geekiness of it. He understands the grit of it is what he wanted.
Which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I geeked out when I saw it. I was like, I know what he's referencing. I loved it so much. But then...
Will Ospreay. Oh.
Okay, so like... So we're live stream, so I'm going to choose my words carefully. Last year, Kenny Omega's entrance had me go, yeah. Will Ospreay's entrance made me go, yeah. Will Ospreay, I feel like, is a secret nerd. Like, we know he knows he's nerdy, but he's just so cool as a wrestler. Yeah. But I feel like he's such a nerd too, and I loved it. So this entrance was so good. They got to play like one of the instrumental tracks from the Assassin's Creed game that took place in London, and then coming out dressed up like one of these. Oh my god, it was so good.
It's almost as long as the match was. It was hysterical.
I mean, that's very, very fair, but I was just like, Kenny's not here, so who do we give the video game licensed entrance to? Might as well give it to Ospreay since he ain't gonna be here for much longer. And
no, we won't.
Oh my gosh, this entrance ruled so much. And then of course, Elevated plays after that, and I hope they allow him to keep that theme song. It's one of my favorites to jam out to.
They've got to, but then we start the match proper in this triple threat, and Ospreay and Moxley are like, screw this guy, and proceed to dismantle David Finlay up and down the ring, outside, getting mad at each other for taking and then not taking turns. It was brutal. It was so hard.
And I love the continuity because during the day before at the press conference, Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley, like on camera in front of everyone at the press conference, were like, you know what, Mox, I'll agree to a truce with you. The first 5 minutes of this match, we just dismantle Finlay, and then we can go at it after those 5 minutes. And sure enough, they held to it. They beat the crap out of David Finlay. Oh my God. And they just left him on the ground. And after the 5 minutes, they went back and magic happened.
Oh, it happened for sure. You talk about styles working together, gelling together completely. These two can't have a bad match with anyone. And when you put them together, sparks fly that you don't see outside of like Ospreay Omega or like, I hate to say his name in this context, but Ospreay Jericho, like or Omega Jericho. It's that level, which was trying to steal the spotlight from the later on match, which actually did steal the spotlight of the night. And this was a crazy triple threat that I was surprised didn't have more interference from War Dogs.
So let's talk about where the origin of the memes came from. So, of course, as always, War Dogs get involved, especially because, their leader is in this match. So they kind of get one up on Will and Mox, parts of the match, but then they miscalculated because this is Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley. Of course they're going to fight back. Duh. I love the fact that once the tables got brought out, Mox and Ospreay went to work. And I love the image of Alex Coughlin not being able to go through the table all the way. And he just sat there and he played it off so well.
He looked like a toddler who had gotten stuck between the couch cushions and just couldn't get out of them. But he sold the hell out of it. And then commentary looking afterwards, he had this giant like friction scrape up his back from where it hit. And Alex Coughlin, well played to you to really sell that move. And that was on Botchamania this week, guys. I am the table. Coughlin is the table.
But man, and you know what? Honestly, I'm not surprised by the ending of this. So
no, not at all.
Ospreay has Mox to dead to rights. And then, of course, David Finlay, being the opportunity it is, comes in and pins Ospreay, of all people, to become the inaugural IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion. This match was magical. But you know what else? Yeah. And you want to know what else was magical? What happened after this match? What happened after this match?
You mean after when David Finlay was just, yelling at Tanahashi and yelling at everyone over at the commentary table and like really taking it to folks, like really getting up there, and then may have pissed off a certain celebrity guest?
So let's talk about it. So David Finlay goes up to Nick Nemeth, who is just chilling, minding his own business, watching this match, begins talking smack. Nick Nemeth's like, yo, bro, I don't want trouble. I am here, but if you're going to talk smack, let's do it. And then the shot that was fired, heard around the world.
It really has been around the world. It's crazy.
David Finlay thinks, he's got this. So he starts, the hands get handed, and Nick Nemeth is like, literally Nick Nemeth is just like, all right, you know what? Hold my earrings. And then they started fighting. I was like, yes, give it to me.
Nick Nemeth's like, I've been doing this for longer than you've been in the business. I'm going to take you apart. And they fought to the back, and commentary's like, we need to get a camera. And no one's paying there. You're just in the long shot of the Tokyo Dome. You see them in the back, these little ants, like bashing against these things, going other places, going into the back end of it. And they're like, we got to get something back there to see what's happening, which then turns into, during the scrum,
yes,
Nemeth diving over the table.
Doing the meme of that from this week of somebody jumping over the judge's barricade. That's literally what Nick Nemeth did.
And he's beating the crap out of Philly behind it. Like, it's going to be a blood feud coming up. I believe that's at the battle in the Valley. They're going to take it on.
Hold on. Let me double check. Fact checker.
I believe that's what they said in the commentary, but I could be wrong. It's the February pay-per-view.
It might be at New Beginning, because at Battle in the Valley, it's David Finlay taking on TJP.
Then yeah, so it's got to be New Beginning.
Yeah,
but yeah. So the Nemeths finally live up to why Brian Nemeth did nothing. That was ridiculous.
He was there for moral support.
He
was the emotional push-up bra for his brother.
But lovely to see David Finlay chased off like the heel he is by heel Ziggler. It's just very nice, but that set us up because that didn't take away from what the next match was going to be. This was the match of the night.
Woo, child. Okay, let's prepare ourselves for the kids.
The main event. This was ridiculous.
Woo. Okay, in a special singles match, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary folks of the internet, strap in, kids, because we're about to gush over this match. We have this is the second time they've encountered each other, because in a one-on-one. And first time was at Forbidden Door in a one-on-one situation, at least within the last couple of months. This is round 2, Kazuchika Okada versus Bryan Danielson. Oh my god. Before we get into the match,
Danielson said he was going to break Okada's arm. He's going to basically tap him out and call the shot.
We will talk about it, but first I want to say Danielson had a fun entrance, but my God, Okada with that black light jacket. I'm like, yes, I want it.
So good.
And it was so seamless. He just walks up, goes over to... I love that they had a separate piece already set up, and he just stood there. They zoomed in. That jacket was so beautiful by itself with just the designs, and then the black light brought the color back to it.
Yep.
And then Bryan Danielson made in, and then it was on like Donkey Kong. Woo! This match hit hard. I thought somebody broke something a couple times from both men. Okada was bruising like a peach, bro. Like, oh my gosh.
Everything was hurting. They ripped off Danielson's eye patch. This match had 3 different stages because there wasn't just breaks in between. There was, Okada's initial flurry of offense, Danielson breaking him down for the second act, and then the sprint to the finish, which was incredible to see them work each other, yell, and heel Brian is so crazy. It's just so good to see him do it there, and to really this is the best you got, and then I'm going to break your arm, just being that dick that he needed to be.
Whew, my goodness, I was like,
I have very little notes as I watched this match minute by minute, which is killing me now because I want to remember more things.
Oh, seriously. But we pretty much did a good job at covering the important bits. It was just sheer brutality. And I never get over Bryan Danielson cursing at Okada. It's like, I'm going to break your effing arm. I was just like, yes, Danielson, you most certainly would.
But he didn't. But he made him almost tap. But Okada pulls out the win, and now they're 1-1.
So hopefully, if Forbidden Door still occurs during June, we get the blow off match at Forbidden Door because I am so
they
excited.
May not need it though because Okada may not be with NJPW anymore.
Well, I mean, Okada is going to be Okada for the next month or so is going to be in America exploring different territories. He's going to be at Hard to Kill, which makes me excited. There's a lot of people at Hard to Kill that I'm excited to see, but we'll talk off air. But our other co-host, Luis, I will put him on blast, but we love him here. He cried after this match. He cried. He cried because of how beautiful this match was. And I'm like, I didn't cry, but this match was art. And then what got me in the feels a little bit is the respect they showed each other afterwards. They were head to the mat. It was so good.
Yeah. The respect gained and everything there, which Danielson didn't show to Zack Sabre Jr. when he had the same opportunity, is telling, especially of what it means for Okada to have given him this match.
I was spent. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I have anything left in the tank. And boy, howdy, was I wrong, because I ended up having more in the tank, because then we get into our final match in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom 18 for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. We have the winner of the G1 Climax, Tetsuya Naito, after what was seemed to be an impossible journey getting here, because Tetsuya Naito's not a young boy anymore. He's getting up there in age, and body's kind of wearing and tearing. Taking on
about the same age, if not a little, about 10 years in between.
Exactly. So Tetsuya Naito, winner of the G1, calling his shot and taking on the champion, Sonata. I don't even know where to begin with this match. The storytelling was so good.
It was, but this also made me sad. Sonata has had a tough time carrying this title the last year. He's finally started to get that edge back that he had, and to be the Sonata that I guess NJPW expected him to be with the title itself. But this definitely was, and I agree with Steven Larson on this. This seemed like NJPW wanted to see if a title could make the man instead of the man making the title. Mm-hmm. And they realized, oh crap, just like with Evil, it didn't take. So we've got to put it back on a very established person that can make this title what it always has been. And that made me sad because Sonata worked his ass off.
The whole entire year that he had this title, for me personally, when he took it off Okada last year. Let's remember that. And the thing is that I haven't hated Sonata's title run, because he's had some fun matches, but it was very forgettable. The whole entire title run he's had has been, not that he had really awesome matches. And one of my personal favorites is because of the open working relationship New Japan has with certain companies. He had a really baller non-title defense against Jake something at Emergence for Impact's pay-per-view back during the summer. And that match was ballin'. I was like, Sonata is a good wrestler. It's just that the title reign, he had to work his butt off the whole year to gain some respect as the champion.
He still didn't get enough of it to be able to be holding on to him. They had to drag Naito kicking and screaming, body breaking down, to go do this. And Naito picks up the win.
So that's the short version of it. But let me tell you, the storytelling that commentary gave during this whole entire match made me invested in this match more so because Naito and Sonata both, wanted to be in New Japan, did the tryout. Naito got in immediately. Sonata got rejected. Sonata had to go a different route. And then he trekked on his own when he formed Just Five Guys. Like, it was really interesting to see this mentor and mentoree situation. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I love this match even more. But maybe the wrestling itself wasn't necessarily like the most outrageous. But then again, you don't want to hurt Naito because we're getting close to Naito calling it quits. And he has even said it like, he's like, I'm getting towards the end of this. I'm going to be retiring very soon. But my God, did Naito still pull out the stops? Sonata did him really amazing. There were so many false finishes. I thought Sonata was actually, oh my God, he might actually win this thing.
There were a couple of Destinos too that were a little wonky, but like still made it through.
The false finishes got me. I was just like, damn it. You just like, I can't believe it.
What honestly helped with that as well is we didn't have a lot of false finishes earlier in the card. There were a couple. There were a couple of like roll through something kickouts. These were like you could tell were built in to be false finishes, and like they were earned for what they got. I was so. I mean, it was literal insanity.
So the match itself was so good. As you said, Naito completes his destino, is your new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And then New Japan pulled a swerve because I thought they were going to do something stupid. So
swerve when I drive west. No,
no, not that company.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And I don't think Naito would survive Swerve anyways. I would be scared for that match. I'm like, Swerve, don't hurt him. We saw Naito barely made it through his match at Forbidden Door when he was in the 6-man, and that match was woo. Anyways, and that was not Naito. That was not Naito's fault though. But anyways, Naito gets the microphone. He's gonna do the roll call and everything, and freaking House of Torture shows their ugly faces and beats him up. I was like, no, stop it. House of Torture shenanigans should not be happening in this moment. And I was like, oh no. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, Evil's gonna ruin it. And after Naito has said that he doesn't really care about the championship, he just wants to do the roll call right because nobody has done it right. And I was just like, we don't get the roll call in anything, but who shows up? Sonata runs his butt back up from exiting, and he helps Naito take out House of Torture.
He missile drop kicks Evil in the back of the head. It was great.
It was beautiful to watch. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Naito and Sonata just kind of have a stare down. Sonata leaves to give Naito his moment. But then thank you, Rocky Romero, for translating for us in this moment, because Naito basically said we may have taken different paths, but if it wasn't for you, I don't think I would be here. And that made Sonata cry, which made me cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like,
a lot of heavy emotion.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful. And then Naito gets to do the thing that he's wanted to do since winning this G1 climax. He gets to do the roll call. And it was a beautiful moment as he takes that title and heads back up the ramp. And that is how New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 18 ends for this.
I forget sometimes that a well-built supercard can work so damn well if you invest in the characters, the people, and you get the audience to get behind them.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like because NJPW doesn't have to deal with weekly TV, they have that luxury of like building these main and big events around, and they do the live events to support it. But it's not like you're burning your writers and you're burning your characters out in 6 months or less, like we do in the West. And I don't know whether they would fly as well here, unfortunately, because people expect to have that on their screens every week. It'd make our jobs that much easier. We wouldn't have to do this every week. But when you see it done at such a high level, and you think, even with like WrestleMania being 2 days now, you have Forbidden Door, you've got all these other pay-per-views that are meant to compete or be like it, we still can't figure out how to make it work in the Western wrestling world.
No, and that's one of the reasons why I love covering Wrestle Kingdom, is because we always stay up to date with what's going on between all the different shows. We may not cover it like religiously because there is no really real weekly TV shows, but they have their big milestone pay-per-views ever so often. And of course, we'll check them out. But there is something so magical, mystical, very performative, like in a good way wise, when it comes to Wrestle Kingdom. The wrestling's always going to be fantastic. The over the top characters and how they're going to top each other with the entrances is always something I look forward to. It literally is, and I'm pulling up something from our other co-host Will when we talked about it a little bit over on the TNA review, that for Will, like, he watched Wrestle Kingdom, funny enough, and he said watching all the entrances, it reminded me of like Kabuki theater and all of that stuff. I was just like, so good. Stay tuned for a future video, hopefully, because I definitely want to talk about that more.
I think Will needs to do a deep dive on just like a regular not even like a review video, but just like do a deep dive, kind of like a little essay on it and like give us some background. But he's very right. It is so stylized in so many ways, and the grandeur of it, that and how they shoot it, because NJPW knows how to shoot, except for that new camera angle this year, which was like the 3/4 up and like looking down and made everything look small. They know how to show the grandeur of the Tokyo Dome, the grandeur of how they have to do this, to a point that, like, I'm sorry for someone who left WWE today, like, you know, Kevin Dunn, you can cover so much up with these fast cuts and not looking at anything that's going on in the ring very quickly. But if you hold on it, like, they allow you to live in that space with them and feel their emotions. And that long ramp allows you to be like, okay, I didn't know who you were at the start of this entrance. By the end, I know your character, I know your feel, I know exactly what you're about to do in there, and you've given commentary time to give me the backstory I need. They don't just stylize in the type of theater, they play with actual time. And that's what good theater does, is to take you out of it and allow you to fully absorb a concept in a small amount of time.
Oh, absolutely. So before we wrap up and sign off, let's go over some of the important stuff that occurred at New Year's Dash, because it sets up for some people like their last hurrah. So
it's also funny to me. We go from the Tokyo Dome to basically like a tennis court with like 2 rows, and it was and like fluorescent lighting. Like
this
there's
was
no
in a city gym. This was in the Sumida City Gymnasium.
It was, which is just such a it's a gear change, and yet still so much more fun than half of the stuff I watched this year.
It was. So some of the important stuff to come out of this is Kaito Kiyomiya still can't catch a break because he lost here.
And he shouldn't have been there, apparently. They thought he was going back to Noah the night before, but he came in to try to do it, and they both lost again.
Which is disappointing. TMTK beat Chaos and BCC, which was crazy to me.
Oh, and then the back and forth in the press conference afterwards with Zack Sabre Jr., all them taking them on. Oof.
I'm ready for this. I'm ready to see more Zack Sabre Jr. fight, folks. But the most important thing, at least for a certain, Englishman, we had a 10-team tag match that was supposed to happen between the United Empire and Bullet Club War Dogs. That went nowhere because after 5 minutes, all hell broke loose and it ended in a no contest.
The amount of blood. Oh my God.
Ooh, child. I was just like, this was crazy. So
Akira was basically like out on his feet. He was bleeding. But so was Gabriel Kidd. How was he walking?
But I saw a picture of someone took a Gabriel Kidd with blood, and he's just like evilly smiling. I'm like, that frightens me. But it ends in a no contest. Will Ospreay gets on the mic. He's like, oh, heck no. We ain't about to let this go like that. So here's what we're going to do. At New Beginnings in February, my last New Japan match, we're going to do this match, but we're going to do it inside of a steel cage. And which is crazy because the last time that New Japan had a steel cage match was 20 years ago.
Right. But you have to have the right people to do it. And this is basically going to be a mini war games. It's ridiculous. And the amount of animosity that's coming out between them.
I kind of want us to just watch New Beginnings just for that match.
We should.
Well, we should, because this is Will Ospreay's last match in New Japan.
Mikey, it'll be you and me. We'll watch it together. We can stream it if they want to see us watch it together. And then maybe I'll drag Jesse to it because he hasn't watched Japanese wrestling, but he knows who Will Ospreay is. So it might be fun. But you forgot, like, and the backstage stuff was great too, but you forgot one other person who had a big night.
Who remind me? Oh yeah,
President Ace, who
President
had the line of the night after he defended his title again. He's
against Ryusuke Takaguchi.
Right, which again, like that was just two old men having fun. But a video pops up at the end. Basically, Tanahashi was leaving. He was literally out the door, and the video popped up late, and so he had to roll back into the ring to watch this. And he's, oh yeah, I have to do this. That's right. Matt Riddle pops up on our screens. The
former WWE
tag team champion says that he needs to prove himself, and he was coming for Tanahashi for that television title. And Tanahashi goes, I'm always up for defending this anytime, anywhere. I don't know who that is, so I'm going to have to do some research, which is he knows who he is. And that's just a real kick in the balls. Like, you have just undersold and buried your opponent. Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
deservedly so.
That is very fair. And yeah, Tanahashi is just trolling people. I love it so much. I was like, he unintentionally is the biggest troll, and I love it so much.
He's going to go full Mr. McMahon at some point. It's going to be hysterical.
I could see this match happening at New Beginnings because Matt Riddle also is going to be involved in some capacity. He's going to be at Battle in the Valley because apparently he made Zack Sabre Jr. upset because it's going to be it's going to be Matt Riddle and a partner of his choice versus TMDK, which is going to be represented by Zack Sabre Jr. and Bad Dude Tito.
Ooh, that's going to be a hard-hitting match.
So really quickly before we sign off, Battle of the Valley, we're not going to cover it because it's literally next week. And it's on the same day as, for some of us that have to do the Hard to Kill review as well for TNA.
I might still watch it. We'll see what happens.
I will probably still watch it. We'll decide if we want to do a quick review about it. But the card for Battle in the Valley looks very fun. You have pre-show matches already, like for, the number one contender strong women championship match between Viva Van and Stephanie Vaquer, I think is going to be great. But then you look at the rest of the matches and it's going to be crazy. Like, you have a crazy 6-man tag between Team Filthy, which is Tom Lauder, Joel Earl Nelson, and Royce Isaac versus the team of Shota Umino, Fred Roser, and Jacob Fatu. Holy crap.
Just came off a clean loss to Matt Riddle.
Woo! I cannot wait for that. You have Mascara Dorado and Voldemort Jr. taking on Rocky Romero and Soberano Jr. So good Lucha Libre action, which I'm here for. TJP versus David Finlay in a non-title match. So it's just a singles match, which still should be good. The Gorillas of Destiny.
Going to interrupt that. Nick Nemeth is going to just completely go after him.
It would be so good. The Gorillas of Destiny taking on War Dogs in a rematch for the titles, which is going to be great. But let me tell you, the one match I'm looking forward to is for the Strong Women's Championship. Trish Adora has a big challenge in front of her against Julia. I'm like,
well, and think of it this way: Julia's on her way out of the company.
She is done with Stardom in March.
And Trish Adora is ROH.
Bring Julia to ROH, please.
Or watch Trish Adora bring that title to ROH.
Oh. Honestly though, I'd be kind of here. I'm excited. I am excited for this match either way. It would be so good. Like we said, Matt Riddle and a partner is a choice versus TMDK, which is Zack Sabre Jr., Bad Dude Tito. The last 3 matches though, I'm also really excited for the Triple Crown Championship. Eddie Kingston versus Gabe Kidd. Holy crap! That match is
a hard-hitting match.
Your semi-main event in a no disqualification match, Jon Moxley versus Shingo Takagi.
That was set up at New Year's Dash.
Yeah, that too. Listen.
Jon Moxley, I don't like you.
Let's fight.
Terrible accent, but it's basically what he sounded like. He was doing a terrible accent on top of his terrible accent. And Mox was trying to follow. I was like, are you asking him to fight me?
Yes.
Do you just want to fight me? Okay, then we'll Battle in the Valley. We'll fight each other.
No disqualification is going to be good. And then, of course, the main event, Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. Oh, my gosh.
Oh.
David Meltzer is going to be like all over the place.
He's going to have a heart attack just by watching it.
Yes.
Mikey, this has been fun. This has been fun to be with you. Just us two talking with nobody else here. It's been great. I feel like we covered a lot of this, and I can't wait for any of the comments as people see the replay of this. Where can they find us?
Well, you can follow us all over the social medias. First and foremost, we have a Patreon that you can subscribe to where you can see some exclusive videos like, do you want to see our true opinions on World's End for AEW? Because we had the watch along, and boy, howdy, we let some comments fly that would not be appropriate for YouTube in the
A lot
sense
of
that allegedly, because we're trying to protect ourselves and we don't want to sign it. We don't need an NDA coming our way from a certain person. Anywho, but the Patreon is there because we love what we do. We spend our tears, our blood, our time, and our love into what we do. And we would love to give you guys more, but we are going to need your support in all of that. So if you feel free to support us, drop a donation, whatever you want to do, every little bit helps for sure. But outside of Patreon, if you want to see everything else, you can follow us at BC WrestlePod all over the social medias. We have a Twitch, we have a YouTube, we have a Facebook page. We're literally everywhere at this point. We also have a YouTube channel. I mean, you can go check that out. Where our edited review of this review will be up later this week, which is going to be really, really fun. And then, of course, we have all of the other TV and other pay-per-view reviews up there as well. And of course, if you want to hear more unhinged opinions, make sure to subscribe to the Biconics Wrestling Podcast. Besides our regular episodes, we also have our weekly reviews now in audio format for you. So if you can't find the time to watch our beautiful faces, let our voices carry you throughout the day.
Today we'll be talking about wrestling. Perhaps you'd enjoy listening to us talk about wrestling.
It is such a beautiful thing, but JBL, this was so much fun to have the OG crew back together and continue to talk about wrestling. And fear not, this is not the only live stream you are getting this week. Maybe if John finds the time, but JVL finds the time, but I doubt it. But you're going to see me back again this upcoming Sunday, as well as being joined by my other TNA folks as we cover Hard to Kill. Please do not sleep on TNA. The card for this looks crazy. Like, just to mention a couple of names at the actual pay-per-view.
You're overselling for him. Come on, Mikey. This is a Wrestle Kingdom thing.
Actually, you know what? Just tune into the review and let us sell you on the actual pay-per-view. Just like we sold you on watching Wrestle Kingdom. Please watch this pay-per-view. If anything, if you can't find the time to watch the whole thing, we definitely recommend everything. While all the matches were spectacular, from the Never Openweight Championship onwards is definitely worth your time, especially the last two matches of the night, which was baller. But alas, we must sign off for the evening. But fear not, you will see our beautiful faces in some capacity throughout this week. But for all of you that tuned into the live stream, and for those of you who are going to watch this edited review later, thank you so much. And remember, from myself, JBL, and the rest of the Biconics boys, take care of yourself, love one another, and despite what anyone tells you, always stay Biconic. We'll see you for the next one, but until then, ta-ta for now.